So it's 6:30. I want to welcome you all to our meeting, and we'll start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank you all for attending this evening. There's a sign-in sheet here. If you haven't had a chance to put your name on it, we appreciate that. Our first item of business is approval of the March 4th, 2026 Select Board meeting minutes. Motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Tim has made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Arnie's a second. Any comments, changes, suggestions, recommendations?
One or two. Let's see, I'm on page 3, line 24. Sergeant Lee wanted to clarify that the board could remove the chair from the position and not the board. Maybe what you said, but I think it would be clear if it said, but not from the board. That's what we were talking about, right?
Yes, I believe so. That was a long time ago.
Right. Like 2 weeks.
Video. Yeah.
Page 4, line 34, that Arnie thought when someone recused themselves, having a discussion why was a good idea. Explaining why.
Yeah, me, Tim.
That's my suggestion. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, that would certainly be clear.
That's all I've got. Did not check punctuation though.
Okay. Anyone else have anything? Peter? I had a couple of things for clarification purposes, page 1, line 11. It says visitors present, Bill Lindsay and Sean Cunningham of the Chester Telegraph. And it's a little confusing because Bill, you don't work for the Chester Telegraph, is that correct? So
I haven't got the check.
just for clarity, today, Sean Cunningham of the Chester Telegraph and Bill Lindsay at Town Hall. Just to be absolutely clear. And then I had on page 5, line 34, there's an ED after Peter's name. I think that can be taken out. Than that, I had nothing else. Anything else from the board? All right. All in favor of approving the March 24, 2026 meeting minutes as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. At this point, we have opportunity for citizens' comments. So if anyone would like to address the board about anything that is not on the agenda, now is your opportunity to do that. Mr. Lindsay?
Bill Lindsay. I understand that the planning board, which I'm very pleased will be hosting a discussion on April 6th regarding the changes in legislation regarding Tier 3 at the proposal that affects land use. I hope that we could put something together on that after the discussion with the planning board to have maybe the speaker also come and address the board as well of these changes. We'll call it the street talk. It's very confusing on some of these changes within this act. And I think about this for several reasons. One, we're trying to get some housing. So it will affect properties regarding housing. Some of the regulations that have been proposed and maybe are not really clear to local government because we don't participate in those discussions. We're not privy to that. But I would believe that we should have a further discussion after the planning board. Maybe they wish to address the board or bring the gentleman, I believe is, I didn't get his last name. I think I have Alex on my notes, and make a presentation as well to the selectmen. This is really, the changes in land use are very serious, and the public doesn't get involved until it becomes not on my road. So So I'd like to see us become a little proactive and getting some of this legislation before the boards so we can understand the changes. I think it's a critical issue for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else?
Yes, can you hear me?
Who is this speaking?
This is Kirk McGinnis.
Go ahead, Kirk.
Yes, good evening. This is Kirk McGinnis. I just wanted to add to the record, or for the record, let's see here. The court held a meeting or a hearing, held a status hearing on March 16th, Superior Court, and I have not seen any written order dismissing the case, deciding the merits, or authorizing the town to treat this dispute as resolved. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Randy?
Randy Miles, Chester. Tonight here, I'm here to do a formal complaint. This has to do with the Chester Telegraph, and I'd like to read a statement. Grounds of the complaint. Chester Telegraph. I feel the reasons for biased reporting and non-serving the town of Chester and school district in a fair and unbiased manner. The Telegraph has been for years now favoring one side of politics much more than any. This is unfair and giving advantage to a paper of record and the side they openly support. I've submitted some information for you to review in just a few examples. I find the Telegraph to show bias on reporting in my view and with support from others in my community. Page 1 of what I've submitted to you, underlined sentence that claims Telegraph to be an unbiased newspaper and reporting while fostering a sense of unity within the community. I feel I have not seen this for some time now. This is a paper of record. I feel the Telegraph to be biased and not equal with their reporting representing the community. 2, you'll see the editor herself using name calling in her own article. It may be somewhat small, but leading traits that point to my belief that Telegraph is biased. On page 3, this one I believe hurt my votes when I ran for GM school board. To release an article to not vote for me because I did nothing to my opponent was wrong. My interest was focusing on issues facing the board, the GM school board. I feel the Telegraph did poor reporting and allowed blame to go in places where it did not belong. I do not see any blame taken from my opponent for him putting himself in this situation. Could care less what somebody does in their own time. When you choose to run in public, things will come out. Instead, the blame went on everyone else to deflect his choice and the people who had nothing to do with his choices. I feel innocent people paid the price for his actions. Lack of thinking before he ran for the school board should have been required more thought. I feel I was made a target to even the score. The Telegraph printed every article in support of him and casting blame elsewhere. On page 4, last but least, the Telegraph with its 6 questions to the candidates running for boards. My info provided communication between the Telegraph and myself. To be clear, I had it with the Telegraph and how biased I felt they had become. I decided to answer the questions in my own way and let the voters decide on my responses. What I had asked for was nothing damning to the editor, but my choice in how I wished to answer the 6 questions, not hers. I did not think this would be a big deal, and the editor would have just print what I had asked for the 6 questions. I was wrong. The editor was mad that I decided this and was going to refuse to answer. Not what I said or asked to be printed at all. The editor put what she wanted for my reply to suit her own and Telegraph's needs, not mine as it should have been. If the editor printed what I had asked for, we would not be here now. This action, in my opinion, was very biased, careless, and poor reporting and confusing to voters. What I would like to see from my complaint of the Telegraph and the editor, I would like for the select board and the town manager to think of what I have just talked about and maybe other concerns over time with references to what I feel is biased reporting from the Telegraph. The other part is for the school. Let's go into the school. I would like the GM School Board Superintendent to think what I've just talked to about. I feel Chester and our district schools should consider removing the paper of record from the Chester Telegraph officially. I will not go to say permanently, but until they prove they can report on what they stated on page 1, accurate and unbiased reporting while fostering a sense of unity with the community. I feel the Telegraph is causing a knowing or not knowing divide between its community. I feel it's not treating its citizens fairly or being non-biased in their reporting. As I stated in this complaint, this is my belief in what I see and how and what is reported. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Any other comments from citizens? Anybody in Zoom land? Okay. Next is old business. Do you want to take us through that, please?
I can, just a couple of quick items. The last meeting, we had talked about the conflict of interest policy. I have had some conversations with the league. Conflict of interest laws have changed. We now need to be looking at ethics policy, which we had started looking at last year, and Ethics Commission for the state was kind of getting their stuff together. So I'll bring both of these back to you together at a future meeting, but nothing to do right now until we figure that piece out. Like update, they started the sewer project work. You will see on Great Mountain Turnpike, the gravity feed line there. That work has began today. That will be about 2 weeks. So there will be some disruption to the flow of traffic right there at the beginning of Green Mountain Turnpike. Before we move into the next phases, you'll have a little more of a heads up, but they were in town. Weather was good. They were able to get it started. We said, go ahead and get it started. So you'll see some work there. The Planning Commission, to Bill's point, the Planning Commission is hosting Alex from the Land Use Review Board. We had opted to have him come to a Planning Commission meeting versus a regular Select Board meeting, so that a full meeting, a couple of hours, could be given to that meeting. There are regional partners that also want to attend while he is in the area, so it won't be just a Chester topic, but that will be an in-depth meeting. Planning and zoning will get some advanced advertisement out. Alex will be on Zoom. He will not be in person, but he is intending to do a presentation and then will be available to answer questions specific to us. So we had moved that to a Planning Commission meeting so that we could give more time for it than just at a regular Select Board meeting. So that is an important meeting, and we'll get word out. Hugh and I have talked about reaching out specifically to landowners that we are feeling it's going to have a direct impact on, so that they receive personal communication from the town. And so we'll be working on that. Hugh will be working on that. So that's an update on that. And then we'll see some work, the new electric panels on the green. The cabinets for the electric panels on the green, we are working with the high school art department to do some murals on those panels. Samantha in my office is working with them on landscape type stuff. We, have said obviously nothing controversial, which they fully agree with, but landscape type things. And they'll be done with panels that can be attached to those cabinets and changed out seasonally. So they're really excited. It'll be a great way for some of the art students to display their artwork on the green. So that'll be coming this summer as well. That's all I have for business.
The Planning Commission meets.
I'm not sure. I think he's going to try to get him here for 6, so I haven't announced the time yet. I think they're going to try to start at a different time to give more time. But I'll let you know as soon as I know. Yeah. And I'm not contagious. I have double pneumonia, but I'm not contagious at this point. I just sound like hell.
Any other old business from the board? Next is Sharon Baker, asking for permission to use the green. Sharon, you don't have to come up. You can just introduce yourself and then let us know what you're looking for.
Well, my name is Sharon Baker, and I own property on the green. And I have 2 buildings there, and I've been there now for 16 and a half, well, almost 17 years. Well, yeah, close. After I have a presentation here, which I was supposed to give you 2 weeks ago, but I had a slip and fall on ice and couldn't get here. But anyway, I'd like to read this and see what you think. I'm choosing to sponsor and create an opportunity for the village the same weekend as the festival at Gateway Field. The following is a proposal to use the green for the dates of September 18th and September 19th. The afternoon of the 18th will most likely be necessary for setup. The event will be called Chester Celebrates Special Vermont Foods. This will be a one-day event on the green. It will be necessary to block off Common Street from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. the day of the 19th to allow for pedestrian traffic. The event itself will run from 9 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. This will be an event that only offers Vermont-made food products to be purchased and taken home for use. Some vendors may offer samples of their products. Examples would be honey, maple products, cheese, breads, preserved products such as jams and pickles, sauces, mustards, etc. Even lots of different, there are candy purveyors too in the state that make wonderful things. There will be approximately enough room to allow for 20 vendors running down the middle of the green, so there will not be any vendors close to Route 7. If we have more than expected that wish to participate, the parking areas on Common Street can be utilized for more vendors.
And Henshaw's there.
Ample room for pedestrian traffic.
You're not muted, whoever is talking.
There will not be a need to utilize the other side of Route 11 in front of the Academy building. Several porta potties will be set up at one end of the green. A small food court using all of the picnic tables will be set up, and the food court will be comprised of 2 or 3 local vendors. All of the local businesses and the property owners will be encouraged to have canopies on their lawns or in front of their businesses with whoever they choose to sponsor. The library will be included in the planning event day. Any of the volunteer committees or organizations in Chester will be encouraged to participate at no charge. Since this will be a food-only event on the green itself, I anticipate that several businesses will be offering space to accommodate the request by vendors selling or showcasing other items or services. An example, the Springfield Humane Society has been setting up on Saturdays in years past in the driveway of the Barrett Valley building. Artisans Alley Market, which runs down the alley in front of my buildings, will be able to accommodate up to 14 additional vendors that sell crafts and/or services. We will also encourage the library to continue to hold their annual book sale, which is their largest fundraiser of each year. The local business owners and property owners will be donating funds to pay the expenses of the event, insurance, porta potties, advertising, and security if needed. I have secured display spaces in 2 of the state of Vermont welcome centers for the month of September. We will also have rack cards available in both of those welcome centers, Bennington off Route 7 and Guilford off I-91. The fee for the vendors to enter will be $50, of which 100% will be donated to the town of Chester and earmarked for the Economic Development Fund. I am sure there are many questions, but this is a beginning, and I anticipate that this event will continue to evolve as the weeks pass. I've also, just so you know, I've also had a local business owner volunteer to create the banner that we have going up between the posts by the veterinarian's office. I'm the committee of one because it works better that way. Looking for volunteers and help. But also, when I went to the meeting in December, I was upset. I was pretty upset. But at the same time, I see this as an opportunity for all of us. And the committee, the festival committee encouraged us to do something that weekend. I've looked at other days. We could try and do something Labor Day weekend, but then we would be preempting what they're doing at Gateway Field. We could do something the weekend after they do their festival, but then try to get people to come back to Chester 2 weekends in a row makes no sense. So if we can work together, I think this could turn into something really wonderful. And I'll be looking for a lot of help.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Any questions from the board for Sharon?
I just want to say thank you for all the energy you put into this, and I think it's a great idea, and I wish you great success with it.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that's a wonderful idea.
have something that will remain in the center of town. So thank you, Sharon, for moving forward.
I know the library is gonna appreciate it.
Absolutely. One thing that we'll need to talk about is the festival committee did reach out about the picnic table issue. So a lot of those picnic tables were donated. They're their picnic tables that they let the town use throughout the year. So they are intending to take the picnic tables to the festival because they're their picnic
that's
tables.
fine.
So we'll just need to, I just found out about that this morning, so I wanted to make sure that we'll just figure out the picnic
We'll
table.
figure
But-
something. That's not a problem.
And then did you talk about insurance, Sharon?
I have, not looked into that yet, but I know that there's a company out of, I believe, Middlebury, Co-op Insurance, and I'm going to check with them
Okay.
and, see about event insurance, definitely. Oh, yeah, that has to.
Sure. When you go forward with this, are the other organizations like the high school kids and all their food courts, are they gonna be more towards the green, or are they gonna be at the Legion fields there? Or do they have a choice, or how's that?
Well, I don't know too much about the Legion, this would be anything like the high school, the snowmobilers, community shares. I mean, I had somebody get in touch with me about that recently, because she had heard about this. Those people, there would be no fee involved because they are trying to raise money for something to do good with it. But anything has to do with food, absolutely on the green, but only food on the green. I found that having my candy shop and adding the maple room and bringing in entrepreneurs from all over the state, there are some really creative people in the state that make wonderful, wonderful stuff. So let's concentrate on that. Vermont food is a big deal, and I think we can make it wonderful.
Excellent. Do we need to vote or anything, or?
You probably should make a motion to let her use the green as outlined in the, and then just to work with me to.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to allow Sharon Baker to use the green on the weekend of September 18th and 19th for Chester Celebrate Special Vermont Foods?
So moved.
So Lauren made the motion.
Second it?
Arnie's the second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you so much. Now
Thank
the
you.
work starts. It'll be a lot of fun though.
Next is the school director recommendation. As in the past, we have had the opportunity to weigh in on appointments to the school board directors. And so we have in our packet a letter from Lane Millington laying out 5 candidates who are seeking appointment. And so I'm just going to start out by saying that I think there are 5 qualified candidates, and for allowing the school board to make their choice. I don't see a reason to weigh in at this point, but what's that about it?
I think it's a responsibility that we have almost to talk to these candidates and that way they can have a little more exposure when it comes to their seeking to be a director on the school board. The fact that the select board is, I forget the term how it works, but I think it used to say in collaboration with the school board. And when you hear that word in collaboration, that can mean a lot of things. It could mean from doing nothing or a formal endorsement. I think it's worth it to hear the candidates in this venue. If anything else, it'll get the word out of why they're interested in it and get more people involved in it and to hear what's going on with it. As far as making a decision, it was last time that we tried to stay out of the controversy, and in doing so, I think we caused more controversy. So if it was up to me, I would like to hear the candidates and just ask the simple questions that we usually ask about why you're seeking this opinion, what are your qualifications, just a conversation. I think any conversations that we have with candidates like this and we get it out, the more we have, the better it is when the choice is finally made at the school board level. And I think what happens is they're asking for the select board's contribution for this. In Chester's case, it's not that big of a deal because I think there's 6 members from Chester, 3 from Cavendish, 1 from Baltimore, 1 from Andover. Now, if you were a candidate from Baltimore and you were by yourself and that spot was open, all these other towns were going to be deciding who is going to be going forward for the school board, which is why I think they put that in there in collaboration with the select board so they can get a little more input from the towns that maybe don't have the advantage of having that many members on and stuff. In Chester, maybe it doesn't make that much difference, but there is that influence. And I think having that select board input is important. It gives another perspective and it gives another avenue of people to, hear what's going on.
Lauren, you'd like to speak?
I have some opinions about this, as you might anticipate. I agree with much of what you just said. For the language in the statute is with consultation. And the part of my issue with all of this is that the statute used to say that when a situation arose where you had a vacancy, where it's apportioned by town, that the select board made the decision. That's how it was. And somewhere, I think around 2016, maybe a little earlier than that, the statute was changed. And it was changed to do specifically with supervisory unions. And the change was taking that power away from the select board and giving it to the school board. And the statute says that the select board does this, and the language is with consultation, which could mean whatever somebody decides for it to mean. It is not defined anywhere. The process that the TRSU has used since at least 2017, before I was superintendent, but during the years when I was there, was making sure that the select boards had the opportunity to hear from candidates and to offer whatever they wanted to offer to the school board, but then the school board made the decision. And I know in 2021, 22, which was, I think the last time before this most recent difficulty, that there was a vacancy in Chester. There were 2 candidates. They spoke at the select board. The select board said, 2 eligible candidates, good luck, school board, which is what most towns in the TRSU, Mount Holly, Ludlow, Cavendish, Baltimore, and Andover have done. Cavendish most recently had started to give an opinion. That is an option. It's not a requirement. It's not a requirement that the select board say anything, but it has the opportunity to do that, and the school board has to give them that opportunity. I'm completely new here, and what I would have hoped for is that there was some sort of agreement among the select board about what your procedure would be, so that each time this comes up, it doesn't feel like you're deciding what you're going to do. And then it becomes easy to get caught up in whatever the particular politics and heat of the moment are. My opinion, for what it's worth, is that the job of the select board is to do what you just said, is to give the candidates an opportunity to speak, an opportunity to get more information out, and that the only thing the select board should be saying is, because the only qualification says eligible, and nowhere in statute is eligible defined other than to say that you have to be a legal voter in the town. And if you're a legal voter in the town that you're running for, you are by definition of the statute eligible. I think it is reasonable for the select board to be saying, we think these are eligible people. I think it's reasonable to say that there may be an instance in which we think there is something. Because there are some positions that you're not eligible to hold if you've been convicted of a felony or of a misdemeanor that is in breach of the public trust. Doesn't say that about the school board, but it certainly would be reasonable for the select board to be saying, we've heard from these candidates, they all appear to be eligible. School board, here they are. Or to say, we've heard from these candidates, we have information that perhaps this one is not eligible. either because they don't seem to be a legal resident of the town, or they work for one of the schools, which makes you not eligible. But otherwise, I don't think we should be making a recommendation for which of the candidates should go forward. And I would hope that at some point, maybe not tonight, but that at some point, the select board would outline a process that they follow so that when this happens, since it seems to be happening more often, you don't have to keep coming back to think about it.
Excellent, thank you.
Can you make a note of that?
Tim or Peter, you guys want to weigh in on this?
I pretty much agree with Lauren, let's hear from them, and then if they're all qualified candidates. Not really hard, it's the decision of the school board, but we can hear from them, certainly.
I agree with that.
Okay. Well, in that light of that, we're open to hearing from anyone who happens to be in the audience that would like to speak relative to their desire to be on the school board.
You want to go down your list because we can't see who's on.
So Rick Alexander, are you available to speak? Ann Henshaw? You don't need to come up. If you don't want to, you can.
Stand up.
Yeah, that's fine. That'd be great. And then introduce yourself in your own voice.
I'm thinking maybe I didn't need to bring.
Actually, having been on Zoom, folks in the back of the room don't really get picked up that well if you
Okay.
try to listen to it, so it might be better if you came forward a little bit, Ann.
It's okay that I
Yes.
shared.
Of course.
Sure, yeah.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Ann Henshaw and I live in Chester with my family, and my children attend at Chester Andover Elementary. I'm what is so often referred to as a transplant. When COVID hit, my family and I traveled the country for 3 years, top to bottom, side to side, looking for the place we wanted to make our new home. We were without community for several years. We were traveling through 42 different states and spent several weeks in each state, picking up and moving, trying places out to see how they fit. We were looking for a home. Finding the right fit was a challenge until it wasn't. We were strangers in a new place and you all took us in. We have found no greater place for our family to live other than Chester, Vermont. In the 3 short years, I found a community I care for and found friendships that I feel gratitude for every day. I tell my friends and family back where I'm from, even a hard day in Vermont is a really great day because I live it here. My family's thriving because of this community, and I owe this community greatly, and I'm ready to serve. My hope is to be appointed to our Green Mountain Union School Board. I'm not sure why I'm shaking because now I'm not nervous anymore. I guess that's adrenaline. I don't know.
Too much coffee.
Yes.
Mine's the steroid. You can use that advantage.
Yes. I'm like, why do we have a podium? Yeah. Okay. I have 3 beliefs that make me what I feel is a viable candidate. I believe in strong, equitable, and safe public schools. They're one of the most important institutions in a community. Public schools shape our children's future, but our public schools are also foundational to the long-term health and vitality of a town. Investing in public schools is investing in our collective well-being. I believe that community engagement, transparency, and good governance is critical to the success of any school board. I believe I'm uniquely qualified to serve on our school board. Professionally and through my community work and legislative advocacy, I've spent a great deal of time engaging in educational policy, special education policy, implementation, and systems that support students and families. I've built district-wide councils and school districts that invested in the positive outcomes of all students and public school stakeholders. I've successfully sat on boards and in spaces that required collaboration and conflict resolution, while cultivating and maintaining transparency and building community trust. So in closing, I care deeply about this town, even though I'm new here, and the people who live here. I and my family believe in community, and we believe we're all connected and have a responsibility to each other. Public schools are the epicenter of community, and I seek the opportunity to serve our school community with the skills I believe I possess. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Alan Levy or Levy, not sure how to pronounce it. Available. Caitlin Miller. Brian Anderson. Okay. So I too agree with Lauren that we've heard, and we'll let the school board, in my opinion, make their decision.
One question, on the other candidates, were they aware of this happening tonight? I mean, did we notify, does the school board notify them or the?
I think Lane notifies them.
So they were notified that this was happening.
I believe so. I have not reached out.
I can speak to that. We all received an email.
Yes.
And it was an email letting us know that this was just kind of an opportunity to come and kind of share, and that it was not a binding anything. It was just an opportunity to kind of put out there, because some people tune in and,
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what was my understanding of what Lane typically does, is reaches out to the applicants to let them know.
It's just surprising that none of the other ones took advantage of it.
I think many of them probably just view it as a formality.
Okay, moving on, paper record.
So are you asking me to then let Lane know that all 5 of these are eligible candidates? Is that what what are you wanting me to respond back to Lane with? I need to respond to the superintendent with whatever you're saying tonight.
Yeah, I guess if it's the pleasure of the board to make that statement that we've heard, we don't have any recommendations to make, good luck.
I did have some questions for a couple of the candidates that aren't here, so I'm not prepared to say that I feel all 5 are qualified. I'm not saying that they're not either. Or eligible, yeah.
They are eligible.
Well, eligible, yes. Okay, fair.
The thing that I was asking for us to look at later is creating a procedure for ourselves. I would agree that the only message we're giving back to Lane is that, we heard from one candidate, we looked at the materials, and we wish you good luck with your choice.
That would be my,
They're all eligible by Vermont law.
Just give the information.
So actually, my one question was, I'm not clear on one of the candidates appears to have worked either in the school system or in the supervisory union, and I'm not sure. And based upon what Lauren said, that may make them ineligible. I don't know.
The one candidate in the material says that he's worked for school districts. I have no idea where.
His resume, his letter didn't say where he
No, it
was.
doesn't.
So that would be my only question.
Mill River.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says MR USD or whatever it is, yeah.
Oh, I did not. Thank you.
I guess they closed that up.
anything else? Yeah, so, yeah. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the paper record. As many of you know, it is our job to determine or appoint the paper record. At this point, we have 2 papers of record for our town, the Chester Telegraph and the Vermont Journal. And so we need to, I guess, hear from both of those. We've gotten letters of interest from both organizations. And so I would start with Sean Cunningham, since he was here. And Chester Telegraph is before Vermont Journal in the alphabet. So you're up, Sean.
We worked it that way.
I had to pick something, right?
I actually was not prepared to speak as I'm covering this, but the letter is basically what Cynthia sent along.
Okay.
And there's no one here from the Journal, so that would be unfair.
Is there anyone on Zoom from the Journal?
Probably not. They don't usually come.
Okay.
Not since Bob Miller.
Yeah, because neither paper usually presents anything. They just give.
Okay.
I can answer questions if anybody has them.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, the discussion is whether we continue with 2, whether we go to 1 as a cost savings measure, or we do something else. So looking for input from the board this time.
I had a question on the breakdown of the costs on this, Julie. And it was hard to compare apples to apples because I guess we advertise different things on different ones and.
If it's illegal, so the paper of record is for legal notices. But we are we sometimes, we try to post everything in both. But there are some times that we advertise things that are not necessarily a required legal notice. But even when we do that, we try to do both. But they both do billing a little bit different. Telegraph is clearly online only. The Vermont Journal is printed. So, and their billing and how they bill is a little bit different as well. So these are just lump sums of what we have paid to both papers or both sources over in 2025. It would be really hard to kind of break down the minutia, but this just I'm just showing you an example of what we pay.
But the ones that are required, those go to both.
Those go to
And
both.
then there's options on certain advertisements.
Sometimes it's something
Notices or whatever.
something we've got to get out quick. If we got to get out quick, Telegraph can get it out much quicker than a printed paper, obviously. So there are times, but that's rare. We try to be consistent and give to both resources evenly.
But the ones that are required, they go to
They
both.
have to go to both. Yeah, they're a paper record, they have to go to both. And the past discussions have been having two papers because the law has not changed. The opinion from Jim Carroll in VLCT is that an online only source does not comply with the law. In past discussions, the boards have felt that it had a value to have online only reach one target group of people, printed reached another target group of people. I'm bringing the money piece back because we've been having discussions about we're finding efficiencies. Is this one of those areas where you want to find that efficiency and only have one paper? If you only are going to have one by VLCT and Jim Carroll, it needs to be the Vermont Journal because that is the printed paper. So it's just a discussion for you guys to have about if you know what you want to do. There's value in all of it.
Lauren?
I find both of them valuable for different reasons. I think it would be too bad to have just the paper version because, well, for one thing, I know the Vermont Journal says they make sure that everybody gets it, but I have times when it doesn't show up in my mailbox, so I don't get it. I live on screen a great deal of the time, and being able to find something, and I know you can find things for the Vermont Journal as well, but it doesn't turn things around as quickly. I find it valuable to have the local online piece. You know, the pricing seems to me to be so different, and having the Telegraph be a third of what was spent in the Journal. I'm sorry that we have to pay for two, but I think I would hate to see us lose the local online specific reporting.
Tim?
I think both serve a purpose. I think there's probably, I think it's safe to assume the audiences are a little bit different for the two publications. I like the fact that the Telegraph can be more responsive. I know there are deadlines you have to work around with the Journal because it is a print paper. And, you know, for less than $5,000 in our budget, I think it's money well spent to include both of these publications. And I'll just say that I think at least recently, the coverage of town meetings and town business has been much more robust from the Telegraph than it has been from the Journal.
More voluminous, yeah.
More robust.
No, I heard what you said. Yeah.
My word is robust.
Yeah. I'm quibbling about that word. Peter, you got anything you'd like to add at this point?
Really hard to start a fire with a Telegraph. This doesn't work that well, you know, and I had to give up.
They're expensive.
Well, I had to, when the Rutland Herald stopped really being a newspaper, you know, that was kind of a disappointment.
It's still a paper of record for a lot of towns.
Yeah, but they're disappointing as a news source. I think we have to have both. You know, I don't think we can get around it. I think there is two very different audiences, yes.
The message is to get the word out to as many citizens as we can. And I think if you take out either one of these, you're going to lose a big chunk of the people that are looking forward to get the information. no matter how you look at it. So I think we should just stay with what we have.
So we have a complaint that has been given to us this morning or today about the Chester Telegraph. And I too had some concerns relative to some of the reporting recently, robust, according to you, Tim. I think it's a little more voluminous than the Vermont Journal, but I don't necessarily agree with the tone or the way it's presented. And I have a couple of questions for the paper record, the Chester Telegraph. And I know you're not Cynthia, Sean, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So in the March 2, 2026 political notes column, Cynthia Prairie used the term MAGA trolls to describe a Chester resident and an apparent political influencer from Brattleboro. Can you define what was meant by MAGA in this article?
I honestly, I can, that's Cynthia, but what I will tell you is it is not an article. That was an editorial. And editorials have a completely different standard than news articles. And people say things in editorials, and they're saying that from themselves. So
Okay. But as the editor of the newspaper, I would think the editor would want to be more careful in choice of words and how people are, well, hold on a second, let me finish, please. And how people are presented or the tone or the attitude that comes across. And I understand it's a column, a political notes column. So maybe the word article was incorrect, but I still, when I look at some of the other things that have been printed in the Chester Telegraph compared to the Vermont Journal, I get two different approaches.
yeah, two things. In terms of what difference between the two, we find that the journal's coverage, for example, of select board meetings is fairly stenographic. We try as much as possible to report what happened in the meeting, especially the things that are the most important, and also to put in context. So, for example, if someone said something 3 years ago about something and now they're saying something completely different, we will make sure that that gets in basically to show that difference.
And that's good journalism, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and the other thing is that when I forget the first question that you had, that was it was two things. That the second one was that, but the idea behind a newspaper is to basically have news and also opinion. Oh, now I'm back to it. When we put something in the paper, we encourage people to comment, and we encourage people to send letters. We encourage people to let us know what they're thinking. And I said to Cynthia today, as far as I know, we have never not published a letter to the editor damning us or kicked out a comment to anything we've done. We have corrected things, but generally we do a lot of thought into what we write and what we publish. There's a lot of times when we're up fairly late into the evening ahead of putting out the news alert on Wednesdays, just wordsmithing things to make sure that we feel that we have it right. And we stand by it.
Well, and again, I appreciate the effort that goes into the journalism. The part that I object to is the attitude that comes across. There's some political bias that shows up, and there's also painting Chester not necessarily in the right light.
It's not our responsibility.
No, I understand that, but you can choose words differently. So as an example, talking about the town meeting, Jerry Usey was trounced by Arnie and bested by Benelli. I mean, are those appropriate words when the Vermont Journal said select board 1-year term, Lauren Fearman and Tim Roper, GMUSD director, Patricia Benelli and Jesse Bailey.
They also
Article 6 town budget, $4,461, etc. I mean, they are giving the facts, but not giving their opinion about what those facts mean.
Well,
And I guess that's the thing that I really have an issue with, is when there's something that's said that is an opinion about how this should be consumed or viewed. So hold on a second. How it should be viewed. And I understand that, you know, good journalists, you want to get the clicks and you want to get the information out there, and you have your own spin. We all have our own bias. So if I'm reporting something, I'm going to report it a little bit differently than you are. And that's great. That's fine. But my question is, as paper of record, we're paying you a bunch of money every year to print notices. And yet when we read some of the articles or some things come across, they're not necessarily, and I'm not asking you to print falsehoods, but I think there's a way of stating the facts in a less controversial, less confrontational way. The other one that I wanted to ask about was.
Can I answer those first?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
You were talking about word choices. Good journalism is, or should be, hand in glove with good writing. And writing is a thing that engages people. And that's the idea, is to engage. You talked about clicks. We don't do clickbait stuff. We don't put out things, headlines that are meant to get people to click on things. And what are they going to click on? They're going to go to the paper and look at an article. We tend to be trying to engage with people and to do it with some style. So the word trounced was totally appropriate. That was what happened. Now, if you look at what you just read from the Journal, they completely left out a contested race that took place in Chester and was not in the Journal. Arnie, his race was not reported.
Okay.
And that's, I don't want to get into our opinion of the Journal and what's happened over the years and all that stuff, but that's there.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that the Vermont Journal is perfect. I'm just saying that when I read something that seems to have a little bit of a bias to it, it concerns me. Yeah, anytime you read an article in the news, whether it's you guys or the Vermont Journal or anybody, there's always going to be a level of some kind of, I don't want to say spin, that's too hard of a word, but at least there's a push in a certain direction, depending on the viewpoint of the author. And I'm just asking, and based on the rest of the board, I'm asking that if we do appoint you as paper record, to just be a little bit more circumspect as far as how you're presenting the information in a town. Because as you know, you've told us before, the Chester Telegraph is not consumed just by people in Chester, it's worldwide. And you tell me the numbers, it's probably in the hundreds of thousands of viewers. And so as we as a town are trying to attract people to come here, being a little more circumspect as to how we present the information, how you present the information. And again, I'm not trying to tell you how to do it. I'm just expressing my concern.
Sure. And what you'll find is that communities that have vibrant newspapers are more attractive to people to come to than communities that don't. The other thing is, communities that have newspapers have far less problems with ethical problems, graft,
Yeah.
all those things. And you have that in Chester.
Yeah. And I again, I appreciate it. I'm not saying anything about the way you guys do your job. I'm just saying that for me, sitting behind this desk and making a recommendation for just the paper record, I'm giving you some of my concerns. And the other concern, the other thing I was going to mention was Randy Miles' complaint, you know, to put words into his mouth in an article that he didn't say, I think is not the way it should be.
I will tell you, we basically said, we're going to do this. Randy accepted. He was at the candidate night. I took his picture there. He knew that we were going to be doing it. We had sent the questions. And what he said was, I will answer questions at the Fullerton Inn on a certain date at a certain time. That was what he expected to put into those. That was not the rules that we had. These are the questions. That's what we're looking for. He didn't do that. He refused.
But he gave you an answer to each one of those.
No, he didn't. The
All right.
answer was, I will be at the Fullerton Inn to answer questions.
Okay, so I don't want to get into this whole
Well,
thing.
you got into it. Then.
Well, no, I understand that, but my point is that you're not accepting is that you should have printed exactly what he said.
No, we don't.
It's
That's,
not-
we had, that is our newspaper. That's the rules that we set out. That's what we did.
Okay, well, then I guess
I
we'll
mean,
just.
you get to run your business your way.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And you often talk about government interfering in business. That's what you're talking about right now.
I don't know that I am. I mean,
Can I-
again, it's totally up to you how you run the Telegraph. I'm just telling you my opinion and how we as a board are gonna make this decision, and I'm just asking some questions.
Yeah.
And I answer.
Go ahead, Arnie, go.
I had a quick statement because you predicated it on, we spend a lot of money with them, and then you talked about that you disagreed with how some of the reporting was done. And I don't think those two should go together. If we have a problem with the reporting, then that should be a problem with reporting. It shouldn't have anything to do with the money that's exchanging because they're providing a service for that money that we're exchanging. We can have a discussion about the reporting or issues with a particular article or whatever. But when you bring in that money part, I think it taints the conversation. And I don't think that's the way it should have been presented.
Tim?
I don't think this board has any place telling any business how they should operate. I don't think this board should tie an approval to certain aspects of how a business is run. And I really don't think any of this discussion should even have been had here. I think it was all inappropriate. I'm very disappointed that this went down this road.
Okay. Anyone else want to jump in?
No, this is a political, board. We're all elected. So you get to make this discussion. It's political. You know, if you were appointed, it'd be a different matter.
The government has no place telling the press what to print, what not to print, and how to produce it.
It's a political position. We're elected
Government
to it,
has
so
no
no, he's not.
constitution.
He's,
Tim, let him finish. please.
okay, never mind. No,
No,
Tim,
Peter, go ahead.
you're absolutely correct. I would hate to interrupt you because that is, exactly what happens. Thank you very much. You obviously disagree with me, but you won't let me speak. Thank you.
Go ahead,
No, I think I'm done.
it's your choice. And I'm gonna stand by what I said. This is First Amendment we're talking about here. We have no business interfering in that. It's a constitutional right,
Okay, so.
guaranteed.
So am I asking the Chester Telegraph not to print things?
You were criticizing from the position of chair of this board, how they run their business. And it's a newspaper. Yes, that's inappropriate.
I was not, I'm not limiting or eliminating their ability to print whatever they feel like printing. I'm saying that as paper record, they have some duty to the town to perhaps be a little more circumspect about how they say things.
So you're telling them from the position of the chair of this board that they should run their business differently. That's inappropriate. I think you should sleep on it and maybe you'll see that what I'm saying has some merit in the morning. I would like to be done with this discussion at this point and maybe go to a vote.
Okay, anyone else want
I think it would be great for us to have the two papers that we've had. That's my opinion.
In fact, it's still mine too.
Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
So I have a motion. Arnie has made the motion to accept the Chester Telegraph and the Vermont Journal as papers of record. And Tim has made the second to that. Any further discussion?
I wish the Vermont Journal was here to help us with this discussion. It just seems like over the years, every year, everybody's here and they're here for the discussion, but sometimes people get a little complacent.
Anything else? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Next is annual appointments. You should have a list in front of you of the various positions that we appoint each and every year. So do we need to go through this whole list or just?
I would say just if you want to read the names and who is requesting appointment, and then you could do one motion. Unless there's anybody on here that you were objecting to appointing. Most of these are, same routine, you know.
So, I need to read the name.
I would read the
position, and
name,
then
the position, and then the who's the.
Okay. So, these are all for 1-year appointments, and then we'll get to the committee appointments in a minute. So, animal control officer is the police chief. Cemetery sexton is Ed Rushford. Connecticut River Valley or River Authority is vacant at this point. Senior Solutions, Nora Ellen Spalding.
Yeah, I've added her. I've added her.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. Emergency managers, town manager, fence viewers are Derek Sursu, Jack Cable, and Peter Hudkins. First constable is Jeff Holden. Green Up Day chairman is Frank Kelly. Inspector of lumber, shingles, and wood is Derek Sursu. Pound keepers, police chief, regional planning representative is Julie Hantz. RPC alternate, Derek Sursu. Road commissioners, town manager. Secretary to select board, Susan Bailey. Board of wastewater disposal is solid waste district representatives, Derek Sursu. Solid waste district representative alternative is vacant. Town service officers, town manager, transportation advisory council is Peter Hudkins. Transportation advisory council alternate Arnie Janinas. Tree warden Ariana Knapp. Water commissioners, board of select persons, select board. And weigher of coal is Derek Sursu. Do I have any, do I have a motion to accept these positions as read?
So moved.
The previous made your motion. I have a second.
A second.
Tim is a second. Any discussion? So just to clarify, you said we're gonna put Nora Ellen Spalding.
She wasn't on my list, but I guess
Oh,
she
okay.
was on the list.
It's on the request.
Yeah.
Request for appointments.
Okay. All right.
She's on what you read.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Mine's old.
All in favors of these 1-year appointments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. All right, and for 3-year appointments to committees, Citizens Advisory Committee is Frank Kelly and Barry Fowler. Housing Commission for 3 years, Caroline Morgan. For 1 year is Cortland Pennell as an alternate. Cannabis Control Commission, Tom Dyak, and there's a vacancy there. Planning Commission is Carl Henshaw, and Development Review Board is Robert Greenfield. So I'll entertain a motion to accept these committee appointments as read.
I must have an old sheet. So Barry Pinsky's off the cannabis control.
I sent one out. It's weird. I don't know. Yeah, Barry Pinsky was not interested. Yeah, he's not thinking of appointment.
Over here's the columns. You look at.
Yeah, let's go on.
Oh, thank you. Never mind.
Yes, because I said so.
If I looked where I was supposed to.
Okay.
So moved.
Tim's the motion. Do you have a second?
Okay.
Lauren's a second. Any further discussion?
We had a question about the housing commission. Should there be a listing for vacancies?
So we have advertised, I think I put that in your memo. We've
Yeah.
advertised the position. I so far have 2 people interested. There is a little bit longer at your April 1st meeting. You guys will make that official appointment that replaces your position. You're welcome.
Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. Next is Town Health Officer appointment. We would be appointing
Mike Ranzio.
Mike Ranzio.
It's a 3-year appointment. There's nothing to sign. You just need to make a motion to appoint him as health officer. And then I have stuff I have to do online for him.
He's serving as health
He's
officer.
our health officer now. He's also our deputy ambulance chief, so it's always kind of gone together very well.
So I make a motion that we appoint, Chief Michael Ranzio as our town health officer.
A second?
Second. I'll
There's
second.
a second. Any further discussion? I have one comment, so it's Deputy Chief Michael Ranzio, just to be totally clear. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Excellent, thank you. Next is the review of the town road policy. So you should have gotten a couple copies of the road policy, the PDF version and the Word version, I think.
I think I
Or you
just-
got just a PDF.
I just gave you guys the red line version. It's easier for you to follow.
So we're going to be speaking to the town attorney on our April, the second meeting in April, because there are some questions and some concerns that I have.
And how this mixes with current pending litigation. So Jim, this is, obviously is available to be a public document for the public to review. Jim's advice that he gave to Lee and I is that this not be adopted until you've had some direction from him on how this could potentially impact pending litigation. So he will be here on the 15th to do the workshop training anyway. Going to come early, do an executive session so that you can talk about that litigation and how all this strategy works together. So that was his advice.
With that in mind, does it make sense to discuss this now, or should we just wait until?
Well, I was gonna ask if anybody had a chance to look it over. I had a couple of things that I
Yeah.
highlighted, so.
Yep.
Peter, you have something?
Well, I do, and it's not. It's one of the things that the state law used to say was that if on a class 4 road, it couldn't change the average of number of trips per year over the course of 10 years, and they took that out.
What was that again? It couldn't work.
You couldn't, if the number of, it's all gone from legislature. But the thing is, it was if the number of trips changed over the average of 10 years, then it had to come the board of.
You mean the usage of the road?
So, what I was gonna say in that, having we get tied up in litigation, is if the average number of trips change in 10 years, the party that changes that trip, if it's club or something else, just has to do the town research and put the road documentation, because that's the first thing that the landowners are gonna ask for. Go to the road books, pull the road book out and present that. So if you're gonna change a use, then you have the history behind it. It doesn't bar you from using it. Everything is accessible in the vault, but then when you start talking with the landowners, here's the record that proves it's a road, you're kind of maybe knocking down some of the litigation that I expect.
So what you're saying, Peter, if I understand it correctly, is that if a road is not used consistently over a course of 10 years and then starts getting used, then somebody, a landowner who maybe had assumed that it was no longer a class 4 road would have to make.
No, not the landowner, the party that's gonna improve the road, or you're gonna.
Oh, okay, for its improvements, okay.
See,
Okay.
so therefore, that the landowners are not particularly happy with people going through it, but like, here's the road, here's the history, it does exist. And then that hopefully will just shut down some of the litigation.
That seems like it might be, in some situations, it might be real easy to establish.
Yep.
In other ones, it might be a 2-year process to establish.
I've been on that, yeah.
I mean, looking ahead, it would be great to have that documentation for each section of road to avoid a lot of this litigation and questions that we have as we go forward. But that's not that easy to do.
No, that's why there's a tripwire. Number of trips increase, usage increase, that's the tripwire, provide the research. There's a lot of stuff that is actually right at the top. It's not that hard to find,
Yeah.
but there's other stuff that it's like, you can scratch your head about it for a really long time, because you really, Because it goes from dwelling to dwelling, so you have to know who was there at the time the road was. And that makes it more interesting. But the first thing that anybody's gonna do is they're gonna draw a lawyer and they're gonna say, well, prove the road, you know?
Well, anything to make the process easier and more transparent for everybody involved would be
Right.
helpful to avoid a lot of this stuff that we're gonna be going through. Because already we've had other inquiries from other landowners with that request in mind.
Right.
And it's gonna take legal work, it's gonna take records work,
Right.
it's gonna take site visits, it's gonna take a lot. And maybe some of them are gonna be very clear cut and
Yep.
open. Other ones are gonna be
In there.
quite a chore.
Been there.
Yeah.
But this is the first time also I've been able to comment on this, but that's what I mean. So when there's not a change and the road remains the same, then it's not a problem. And we know that that's gonna stay that way. As soon as the trips increase, it's gonna, you might as well have the information, to stop the lawyer. Because the other end, when you look at the other thing we've had, legal fees on roads. We had two pretty good nuts and I did most of the work for free on one of them. So, to just kind of back that down so you know where the road is and then it's done.
But, when I look at a document like this, you could tell that an attorney was involved in it because it's very precise. It talks about red legislation and statutes and stuff. I've looked through at least a dozen different road policies across the state, and they're anywhere from something like this all the way to just a one page that says, yeah, we could bring the cow across the road and it's okay.
Yeah.
And everything in between. So it's just, where do you want to land on this? And I guess it's always better to go for something that's
Right.
won't be challenged in court as often as some of the other ones are, but.
Well, I don't think, well, this is just, what we have here is actually pretty thorough, and knowing the litigation that happened in Tunbridge and going through all that. And fortunately for them, the Dodge's road that were up at the top of there were all well established. Tunbridge did an excellent job of keeping their class 4 roads recorded. We have not done as good a job, and so when they start to come around, it's just gonna hit us. So why not, when we change the use and we know we're gonna do it, the trip board, it's a trip wire for the user before we ended up with the landowners. If they say you can't be here and here's the record, here's the road, then that's pretty much done with it. That's what I'm saying. I'd just like to, not that I'm against lawyers, I realize you're a lawyer, but I would just like to feed them less.
Anything else? Jump out at anybody? I had a couple of things, but mostly just editorial things.
No, I was going to say
I'm
the
sorry.
same thing. Is this, can I assume that what we're going to get next will be something that is with the red lines removed and edited?
Correct, after you guys have.
So my going through and being a proofreader is not necessary.
Probably not at this phase. Although you're welcome to.
I can't stop
I
myself.
can give you other documents. You can-
Yeah, and that was basically what I had. The only question I had was that might affect this is under 3B, plowing by private parties. I just wanted to make sure that we're thinking about this deeply enough so that we're not boxing ourselves into or out of a corner by allowing or not allowing plowing or asking for an advance permit, because sometimes Class 4 road is somebody's driveway, and if we're requiring a permit for them to plow the driveway, then that is something that we need to at least think about.
Yeah, and it does happen. It is going on right now.
Oh, sure, quite a bit.
Yeah. But always, when I think of that, well, no, it's somebody's driveway. No, actually, it's a Class 4 road and they're using it as a driveway.
Right. The other question was under number 5B, where Jim commented. So I think you asked the question, is this legal on a Class 4 road to prohibit, restrict, or set conditions? And he said, yes, subject to limitations. It'd just be nice to know what those limitations
I
are.
thought the same thing, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then, you know, Ariana's name's still on here, which.
Well, yeah, all that had changed on me, yeah.
There was one more thing, I mean, it gets, oh. When you're not, when you get into with snowmobiles in the state of Vermont, a snowmobile is allowed to travel on an unplowed town or state road. Matter of fact, the only road that they're not allowed to travel on is the interstate, and that's only because it's marked if the interstate was unplowed. And when you get into the muscle powered vehicle, what was it? The problem is you can't really write them out just because of that state law.
I don't think they are.
Yeah, there was one section, I think I remember where you're talking about there, where it said, or the wording was changed to make sure that snowmobiles were not restricted.
Under definitions of motor vehicles.
And I think that's where Jim is talking about the yes, subject to limitations, because snowmobiles you can't
Yep.
accept. That's one of those of limitations.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. All right. Good.
Anything else on this? You have anything that you'd like to see in the next version? Just let Julie know.
They already took it out. That big first paragraph, but that's fine.
It's
not. I can understand why it's out,
Yeah.
because it's an aspirational thing. It's not a policy thing. Yeah. Okay.
If you want me to write something, does anybody find what I was thinking unacceptable?
About the
The tripwire that once.
getting out ahead of it.
Yeah.
If you want to draft it, I can send it on to Jim
Yeah.
and we can.
Well, I mean, it's acceptable, is the idea acceptable to the rest of the board?
How do you judge that or meter that?
Right.
Yeah, that would-
Well, there's no idea, how did the state?
You don't have a wire out there counting cars.
But, you know, if you somebody starts clearing the trails out, clearing the logs out, you know, and you suddenly start seeing all the ATVs, bing, you know, are you an ATV club? How did this happen? Okay, you're on a town road, justified.
So I guess my question is what, and maybe you just answered it, what would trigger doing that research? Some foreseen change?
Well, okay, so we have roads here that have never been used. I mean, I'm just one that I think of that ends in Andover. If suddenly it started getting used, you know, and it was used, somebody decided to do a development or something like that, you know, bingo, trick, you know, you're gonna develop.
Then you go do the research.
They would be required to do the research because they were increasing the trips on the road.
Okay, but you're not, I just want to make sure I'm clear, you're not talking about doing this in advance for all the class 4 roads. There would be some trigger.
There's a trigger, so we didn't have to do, so you would do the roads that, you know, that you were gonna start a controversy, know before, you know, here's the road. You don't have to sit there and say, like, you know, when Paul Bidgood, here's the road, here's what I imagine. I'm gonna invent a road over here. Paul, can you show me that?
So would an example be the snowmobile club changed their trails because something changed and they wanted to use a new section of class 4 road? Would that trigger that?
Figure that, yeah, because they would,
Okay,
you know,
that helps.
prove out that's a new that would
Yeah.
be a class 4 road that
New
has
use
not
of-
had the use, right?
Gotcha. I think that's a good idea.
And the way someone would know that's triggered is self-reporting.
Well, it's a small town.
But that's what
So
the
that
state,
somebody's gonna come forwards and say, I was out on the trails yesterday and I saw 6 snowmobiles go by. That's,
Or.
yeah, it was in the state law up until 2 years ago.
Well, theoretically, our class 4 policy will have some kind of a requirement for upgrades. I mean, it's already in there. So if somebody says, hey, I want to improve this class 4 road, then that would also trigger that.
Well, more, once again, that would be more
Oh,
trips.
sure, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think it's a good idea, Peter. If you want to draft something.
Yeah, we'll see if you can read it, but yeah. I don't have Ariana to edit anymore.
Send it along, we'll work on it together and I'll send it to Jim.
Anything else on the town road policy?
We're getting there.
Yeah,
Long journey.
next is review and adopt rules of procedure, so hopefully you guys have all had a chance to review this. This is, after our discussion at our last meeting where we made a couple of minor changes, I think. So if, there's no, well, we can have a conversation afterwards, but I'll entertain a motion to accept the rules of procedure for meetings for the town of Chester.
So moved.
All right, you've made the motion. I have a second.
I'll second.
Tim's a second. Any further discussion? Do we have to vote or we just sign it?
Vote since the motion.
Okay, so, all in favor of, adopting the select board rules of procedure for meetings for the town of Chester, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Excellent. And today is March 18th, right?
So your entertainment permits, would you motion and then you guys sign? Local licenses, you could do the all in one motion if you want.
Next is entertainment licenses for the American Legion and McLomans. And so I'll entertain a motion to accept the,
We're totally elite. It works fast and lasts a full 24 hours.
They could mute themselves, please.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the, or approve the applications for entertainment license for the American Legion, Chester Post 67, and McLomans.
So moved.
I just made the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Lauren's a second. Any further discussion?
I had a question on the Legion application. Is this every Friday and Saturday with their asking?
Yes, they typically have one every Friday and Saturday. They don't have the entertainment every Friday and Saturday, but they do a blanket.
Okay, just wanted to be clear on that. And also, there's no date on this application. Should we just add today's date?
I would add today's date. Yeah, I think they probably just missed it.
Oh, I had.
Good catch. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Two sheets will be coming for your signature.
Are you doing that?
Next is entertainment licenses, liquor licenses for American Legion, outside consumption, first class, third class, and McLoman's outside consumption, first class, second class, third class. And we don't need signatures, just
You
the,
don't, just a motion that covers them all. And to answer Tim's question, no, there are no issues with the police department on any.
With either one. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the liquor licenses for the American Legion, outside consumption, first class, third class, and McLoman's outside consumption, first class, second class, third class.
So moved.
Tim's the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Arnie's a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Excellent. Next is, new business, next agenda. So you should see on your manager memo, next agenda for April 1st. Use of town property ordinance, fee schedule, request for use of town green, revision of CEDC mission statement, housing commission member appointment, town local emergency management plan. Anything else that we're gonna add to that?
That I know of at this moment.
One question on that. I've asked this before. It keeps showing up as town property ordinance, and we've been talking about a policy. Is it going to be an ordinance or a policy?
Stay tuned. That's gonna be part of your discussion about which way you want to take this. So, yeah, that'll be part of the discussion.
So when it shows up on the agenda, could it say ordinance or policy?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm kind of waiting on opinion from Jim on what he thinks is the best avenue to take this. Before this comes to you guys, this is gonna go to Jim first. These ordinances, while are very necessary, can be fraught with all kinds of potential issues, and we don't want to have there be potential issues. We don't want to be violating anything, but we want to just make sure the town is covered. So I'm working on some drafts. I'm going to be working on those drafts with Jim. We're going to do a little out of order this time. I'm going to have Jim look at everything before you guys get it first, just to make sure that we're not putting something out there that isn't correct to begin with. We just want to make sure that I don't want any constitutional violations. We don't want any of that. This is simply about use of town property in a way that is safe and available for everybody. That's it. And so I'm trying to also get ahead of there being much controversy about it, and just having the attorneys help me on this particular one.
Are there any towns in the state that have already done this?
For the gamut.
All over?
They're all over the gamut on what they do. And then we need to decide, I mean, I had always been focused on outside space. But we are technically should have something for inside space, and it's different. Those conversations are different. And so what is the best way to kind of tackle it without being too cumbersome? There are some towns that have different language in their policies that I read it and I'm like, that seems like you're hindering gathering. I don't know that you can do that. So I'm a little hesitant to just follow what other towns have done. I haven't found one that to me says, oh, that makes sense. They all seem to, they're just kind of all over the place. And I'm not sure that towns have really taken this on as a big undertaking an ordinance review until recently. I mean, it came up during the homelessness and the housing stuff that went on during COVID, and then those had very targeted focuses. And so I mean, it's a big undertaking, and make sure that we do it in a way that is not super controversial, but just protects the town. That's what we care about.
I'm really glad to hear you say that, because I've seen that there are a number of towns in Vermont that have these things in place, and the ones I've looked at as well made my eyebrows go up. So I'm glad.
It's wrong. Yeah.
Good plan.
So it'll be vetted by Jim first with options of things that you guys can choose from. Obviously, I'm not writing the policy for you, but we'll just read it by Jim before I put anything public.
Good.
So it may take a little bit longer.
We're used to this.
2 weeks out of work has not helped my workload right at the moment, but it's coming. I promise it's coming. I promise it's coming.
Anything else? Any new business we need to discuss at this point?
You can wait till she gets her pulse back.
All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Tim's made the motion. There's a second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Thank you.
To order copies of this program, please call 802-885-6248. This program was created using equipment of SAPA TV. The views and opinions expressed in this video are not necessarily those of SAPA TV or its staff. Visit us online at www.sapatv.org. Thanks for watching.